Hi everyone, welcome. It's Thursday night and it's time to learn something new. We're going to start talking about IQ Designer or My Design Center if you have a Brother machine. And that's available on a lot more machines than it used to be. It's been around in different formats at least 18 years or so, 17, 18 years. In the old days of the Elagio, it was the first time it ever had it. That machine had a fairly large screen. And so you could do some rudimentary digitizing on it. And it was called On-Screen Designer, that's what it was called. And it was very, very, very basic, super basic. It was hard to use, but it's come a long way. But it was always something you could use in the machine and you load it on a stick. So it's been around for a long time. Although now with the new machines and the greater capacity that the computing capacities these machines have, it's gotten a lot more powerful. Or My Design Center or IQ Designer is the new name of it. It's available for the Destiny, the Dream Machine, the Solaris, the Luminaire, the Altair, the Meridian, and Brothers equivalent of those. The new 10 needle machines, the Venture. Let's go to the machine. So we're going to talk about today the basics, what the buttons on all these things mean, as well as we're going to be talking about scanning and things that can help to get to scan your designs better. And we're going to take this same scan design and we're going to take it through a different processes to see what we can do with this machine with this simple little project. I'm going to go back to the home screen. So they all the machines kind of look like this. I'm using the Destiny because that's what I have at home, and so we want to use IQ Designer, but it will all, if you have the Luminaire or the Dream Machine, you're going to have a fourth button that says Disney. Well, we're not dealing with that. We're going to do, it'll say instead of IQ Designer, it's going to say My Design Center. So I'm going to click on that. Okay, and let's talk about what these buttons do. And the screens do look a little different. So I have examples of what the other screens look like. Hey, remember this little gadget that came with the machines and it's useless? This brush is absolutely horrible. You know, you can't use it for anything, but you know, if you can't find your stylus, this end works real well as a stylus. You can also plug your machine, plug it into if you have a USB connector, you can also plug your mouse into it. And actually, for doing fine drawing, and next week I'll be using a mouse, it's actually going to do better because you can really see things. They have the big fat pen that came with the Luminaire and the Solaris, and that thing's too fat for use. You know, that thing is useless. You can use a powered stylus, which looks like a pen. You can use that, and I have one of those. But actually, the most useful is going to be an old-fashioned mouse. Not one that's got the rotary wheel on the front that you can scroll up and down. You want a plain, ordinary 2-button mouse. Not wireless, not anything. The cheapest. In fact, if you have an old machine that's got a USB mouse, grab that. Those old ones work the best. Let's talk about what these buttons do. I'm not going to talk about this. This is specific to sewing. Although this one right here, which is the settings page, becomes important because with embroidery digitizing, it's easier and more convenient to go to like the next page and put everything on millimeters rather than inches. When we switch over to sewing it on the embroidery machine, we'll switch this back to inches. I like to use millimeters. It's a little more logical in the digitizing process. If you have a Solaris, your initial screen will look like this here. They look basically the same, but they have the same buttons. They may be in different places. If you have the Altair and the Meridian, it's this one, and it looks very similar to the Destiny. There's not a whole lot of difference here. If you have the Venture, which is the new 10 needle machine, it'll look like this. Again, it's got the same buttons, they're just in different places. And then finally, if you have the Valiant, it's going to look like that. which looks an awful lot. It looks an awful lot like the one for the Venture. We'll come back to this. These are what you use with your scanner, okay? In the Solaris, it'll look like this right here. These are how you scan in, okay? It'll be that leaf thing. This is your leaf, but this is, you have all three. When you would hit the leaf, you would then get another page that would talk about line image and all that. Line, you have three things on here. You have, this is what on the Solaris is called an image scan. And what that does is this is going to simply scan your fabric or your scanner board or your something in your hoop, and that's it. It creates a background image. It's not digitized. When you create line image, it's going to create the outlines. So this would be for black and white. If you have a color illustration, they'll have illustration image, and this one is called create fill, because then it reads both the outlines as well as a fill stitch. Usually I find that puts in way too much. So I almost always use create line image. Okay, I'm not going to scan right now. We'll come back and do that. Okay, now you've got two sets of tools here, and it's the same on the Solaris as well as all of the machines. You have this grouping right here, which shows the characteristics of making outlines. So on the properties page, which looks like a piece of paper, you're going to have the properties of your drawing tools, which are the lines. So you can have create a open image, create a free line draw. Well, let's talk about that. Let's say we pick this one, a free line drawing. Okay. So as I draw, because this is now highlighted, that's my drawing tool, and it's showing it's using the pencil. See, it just creates an open image. So let's go all clear. And this time I'm going to pick a closed image, but it's a free line draw as well. So as I draw partially, it fills it in and finishes it. That's all that does. Okay. This one here draws one line. So it's like a click and drag type action. So you would pick this one, and you click and you drag and click. I call it click and drag. So, but as I move it, it changes direction. So it's 2 points, beginning and end. That's it. Okay, and then you have point to point, and that is actually my favorite way to draw. So I do this because, say I want to do something like a circle, I just simply, you have to go close enough from beginning to end for it to close up for you. So on the Solaris, it automatically closes for you. It's a little easier. Okay, so that's your line draw. Now also on this properties page, or what this one does here is, this one is your drawing, this one is your editing. So if you have, let's say we have a line. I'm just going to draw a line. Okay, and that's it. And I decide I don't want it to be black, but I want it to be a red line. This is my editing, so I'm going to touch this, and I call it flooding. It's not called flooding, it's called the bucket, I guess. But this, I'm going to pour those characteristics on this line, and as I touch it, it turns red. It's hard to see, but it did turn red. So you know, if you hear a clunk clunk like that, or in the case of the Solaris, it goes click 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 click, that means you've already done it. The eyedropper I almost never use, so if you've done a complicated drawing and you want to pick a color and the characteristic of another line, you can hit an eyedropper and touch it, and it's gonna, well, we don't have, oh, let's just draw another one. Okay, I'll do a green line. Okay, and there we go, and whoop, I want the eyedropper, and I want this, because it's talking about green here, I want those characteristics, and then I hit this, and then it picked up the same characteristics. It's just like a copy and paste of characteristics, not of the line. Okay. Other things we have in the settings pages is you can pick the stitches you want. So this is your satin stitch, a double run, a triple run, candle wicking, a chain stitch. If you have the Solaris, it has even more. It's got more stitches. It's got 2 applique stitches, I think a E stitch and a V stitch. Forgot what it's called. And then you also have one that's select, so there's all kinds of different stitches you can use besides these. You're a little more limited in all the machines except for the Solaris. You'll see the Venture, the Altair, you're pretty limited on those. Okay? And then this one here is an important one. It's called no sew. So you can set up some guidelines or whatever and not sew them, which means it won't go forth to an embroidery, but you'll see the line there to use as a guide. And then, of course, your colors. So, okay. Then you have, let me get a region something. Let me cancel. I'm going to all clear. Okay, we'll talk about this in a minute. Okay, and I want to make it smaller. It'll come back, so don't worry about it. Okay, I have that box. Now these are your region fill tools. So on my characteristic, this is my region drawing. So I could pick this, and when I have, these are my region properties. I can draw squared off painting. Think of it as a paintbrush rather than a pen. So this is a square edge bristle brush, and those are rounded edge bristle brushes. And you have a small, medium, and a large. In the Solaris, you can also select the size a lot more with a digital number, so you can get more than just the 3. Okay. So, like say I pick this one, and I'm going to pick green. So now when I draw with that paintbrush, see, I get that going on. Undo, I don't want it. Okay. Okay, and as versus if I pick this one, that one was square. Watch, the edges were square. See how they're rounded. See, the ends are rounded. That's it on that. Okay. Then you also have your stitch properties of your fill. So you have a regular flat fill, just a fill stitch. You also have stippling, and then you have fancy fills. So, like, say if I have this one, I'll just pick this, and I'm going to flood this. This works the same as that, except for instead of it being flooding a line, it's going to flood a region. So I'm going to flood the region, and there's your straight, ordinary stitch. You can't see them. Watch, you won't be able to see now on this at all till you go to next. It's just going to show straight colors. So next I'm going to pick a stipple, purple, flood. Oh, it does show the stipple, and that's ordinary stippling. Undo, and then I'm going to, this here now takes you to your fancy fills, and you select that, and I have 10 of them. In the machine. Other machines have more. I think the Solaris with the Solaris 2 upgrade or the Luminaire 2 upgrade, there's like 39 fills. There's a lot of fills you can pick from. But this is, let's say I pick this one, that's where it is, and then OK, and flood, and see, it gives you that background fill. You can also make it bigger and smaller, and we're going to investigate these more and more. I know there's a lot of information here, but don't worry about it. We're gonna come to it. Okay, then we have eraser. In the eraser, in the Solaris, and instead of just having small, medium, and large, square, and round, you have shape, plus you have a number, how many pixels it'll go through, from 1 to, I think, 90. I forgot how many. It goes all the way to pretty big. I usually try to use the smallest one available. And this is my size of my eraser. And so now when that's highlighted, I can now erase. And see, I can erase part of this. When you're erasing, okay, and you go, oops, and you back tack, you got all of it from the last time you picked up the pen. So if you were going to erase and just do a little bit here, then you wanted to come up here, just don't come around here. Take your pen, your stylus off, and now say, oops, you do the back, your undo. It left that one alone. So do little sections at a time and lift up your pen. So I mean, it'll go back a few times. Off and off. So as I back up, there's 1, there's 2, 3, and then that's back, well, back to the beginning. So the eraser is a nice tool. This one here is your shapes tool, and they call it a stamp. In the book it's called a stamp. And you've got different things you can do with the stamp. So here's the shape of the basic shape. These are closed shapes. When you're digitizing and you've got a shape that you want to duplicate, a lot of times it's easier to pick one of these shapes and alter it rather than to try and draw your own. I'm not very steady with my hands, so it's not a good idea for me to be drawing. Well, nothing will be straight, nothing will be even close. So you'll see we're going to use some of these shapes to create different things. Okay, and then you've got this with more shapes. These are all kinds of different little cutesy things, a house and flowers and hearts and all that. Okay, then you've got open designs, which are these different little shapes that we can also use for different things. Okay, and then you have, we'll talk about this. If you have a design in your embroidery, in embroidery mode, and you want to create an outline so that you can do something else, and we will do this next week. This is real helpful when you're trying to embroider something and then do stippling or turn it into quilting designs and put quilting around it. This is helpful because it gives you the shape of the original whatever it is. And then this is excuse me, also the icon you use to pick your hoops. So these hoops are all in metric. If you go, I don't know what those are, because I don't. So a few of them I recognize. 100 by, or 10 by 10 is a 4 by 4 hoop. 180 by centimeter, and I know it in millimeters, not centimeters. 180 by 130 I know is a 5 by 7. But if you're not sure, that's when you're going to hit this icon here. On this machine, I'm going to page 8. Turn that back to inches. Okay. And now it gives you, the display gives it to you in inches, which is easier to comprehend. So let's just say we're going to pick a 9.5 by 9.5. It now shows you a red outline of it. Okay. These, I believe, are no-sew lines, but I always double check when I bring in a hoop. I will turn on a no-sew line and touch the no-sew line. See, it comes as a no-sew, but I never trust it. This here is your selection tool, okay, which can make you crazy sometimes. Selection tool, on the Solaris, it's going to come down here and say, do you want to draw a rectangle around it? Do you want to lasso it in with a shape? That kind of thing. So, or there's also a magic wand, which allows you to hit the magic wand and you touch a part of the element you want to select, and it'll select the whole thing. But say, I'm just, with most of the machines, with the exception of the Solaris and the Luminaire, as you select and you move it, look what it does. It takes whatever's in there and moves it too. So you have to be careful. It'll take whatever is within its spider web grasp and move it or do whatever changes you wanted to. So I always be careful of that one. This one is a shortcut when you want to cut a lot, take a lot of things out. Instead of hitting erase and erase and erase and erase, I can now take that, select it, and cut it out. Ta-da! Okay. The other one I want to talk about is your, let's just select. I want to select. You have to have something selected to copy and paste. And I copy, and then I paste it. And now I have two. See? It looks a little different. Okay. On the Solaris, this is your select key right here. See, it's up here on the Destiny, it's down here. On the copy and the paste, right here, where it shows two of them. Okay, that's your copy. This is your paste. On this machine, it's this little here. The only difference is this doesn't have any image in it. This one's got two little daisies and a clipboard with a daisy. So actually, if I want to have that more than once, I can paste again, and now I have three. So that's the copy and the paste. Then you have memory. This puts things into memory. And I have a choice of putting it into the internal memory of the machine, USB port 1, USB port 2, direct connect to your computer on the Solaris and the Luminaire, and I think the Venture, anyway, the new 10 needle machine, you have a wireless capability, so you can transfer them wirelessly. And an SD card. Not all will have the same things. Okay. This takes things out of memory, and you have different pockets of memory, and the two do not play or mix with each other. This is IQ Designer memory. So if I take a look at something that's internal memory, I have a lot in there, as you can tell. Okay. These are things I have stored in the internal memory of the machine. And notice they are called PM9 files. That's different, okay, than an embroidery file, which also has the same, let me cancel, it has the same icon as these machines, except for when you're in embroidery, you're going to be saving into that embroidery pocket, and now you're saving into the design pocket only. And instead of having these pockets like this on the Luminaire and the Solaris, this is your memory here. If you want to get something from memory, which is this one, it's up here. Why they're not together, I'm not sure. Once you have your design looking like you want it to look, then you would go to Next. And now it's going to talk about the properties of the individual stitches. So when I'm on return, these are lines, these are images only, with stitches sort of attached, but they're not quite attached yet. They're the default stitches. If you want them, if you don't like those, then you're going to go to this Next. And it's going to show you what the stitch is going to look like and the characteristics of this stitch. So, and these will all become more clear. Say I want to change this. This is a fill. As I hit select, it's going to notice another section is going to pop up. See, now that one popped up. We have a few there. And one there. Oop, cancel. And one there. Okay, and it looks like we've got a satin stitch outline. And they have different characteristics. And here's some more. But say I want to make all of these shapes. If I make changes to one, I want to make changes to all. So I would hit a link. See, they're all highlighted. Now I can make changes to all three sets at one time. Let's just say I want to make this bigger. This one, and we're gonna come back, so don't worry about those. And in the most of the machines, you have preview in order to look and see what it's going to look like. Okay, so I would hit preview. It says it's not going to save. I don't care. Okay. Alrighty, we're going to return, and I'm going to undo some of these. Can't do it already, so I'm going to select. I'm going to take and cut it out. Alrighty, hopefully that'll work. There we go, and link, and make it bigger. It's 200 preview. And see, there it's changed my design. And you think, I don't want those satin stitches. So you return, and now I'm going to go find the satin stitches. There's one, so I'm going to link all those satin stitches together, and now I can change that stitch to a run. What this does not do is change to a no-sew line, and we have email Baby Lock or Brother, whichever machine you have, and tell them you want a no-sew line option over here, because like sometimes you'll touch the screen, you don't even realize you touch the screen, and you have this weird, strange character, and you can't find where it is. So it would be nice to find it and eliminate it on the preview level, but it doesn't let you do it. So I'm just going to turn that to green. And so I changed them all. They're linked all, and here's where I could change the stitch length. Make it a big, long stitch length. This is where I also, it's in inches. I don't know what 36 inches, so I'm going to change that now to metric, because I don't know what that is. 9 millimeters. That's a super long stitch. That's way too big. Okay, this would be a big one. Say you wanted like at a basting stitch, maybe 5.3, and then you would set it, and then, you know, that's good. And let's see if I have anything weird in here. Yeah, I got another weird one there. Let's see. I think I got everything. So I hit preview. Now I have another opportunity to save. Okay, so I'm going to hit preview. And I like what I see. So at this point I hit, you don't have a preview in the Solaris and the Luminaire. This would be skipped. On the Solaris, as you make changes here, you don't have a preview. It's automatically going to show you what it's going to look like in real time. Now when you save this, it's going to save it both in the internal memory of the embroidery design, and it's going to save it in the internal memory of the embroidery stitches. Okay, so okay, I'm happy with it. We're done. I can hit set and okay. And now it's ready to stitch. We're in regular stitching mode. Okay. And now if I go into memory and bring out of memory, I bet you we will see it. Wait a minute. Now where's... Let me see. Oh, and memory. Okay, internal memory. See if it's there. Yeah, see, it's there. And it's saved now when you're in embroidery. In most of the machines, it's going to be a PHC design. It's different. It's different in the Solaris. I forgot what it's called, but it's not called PHC. You can't take a design from the memory of the Solaris and put it back on a lower end machine. You can do it the other way around. So if you've got a design here, you can take this to the Solaris. You just can't work backwards. And it's the same thing with the palettes and the palette. Remember we had palette. If you digitized it in palette 10, you couldn't read it on a palette 7 if you had it, but you can the other way around. They work forward, not backwards. So let's talk about scanning. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of everything. For the scanning, you want to use your scan board. Here's my scan board. Okay, there's all kinds of places you can get designs from. Dover Publications has a lot of royalty-free books that you can purchase. They also, if you go to Dover Publications site, They also have free designs you can download, and sometimes they have a design of the day type thing. This is an ultimate design workbook that I bought that has tons and tons of designs. I went to my copy machine and I made it 140% bigger. So we're going to be working on this as an embroidery design, and we're going to ultimately turn it into a mug rug at the end of this class series. When you're scanning, you want to begin with a line that has a clean, strong contrast. Fuzzy lines don't usually work. In fact, a lot of times lines that you get on a copier just don't work really well. But we'll see what happens with this one. Okay, then if you're going to trace something, you want to use a medium tip pen or a marker if you're tracing or drawing your artwork, so you want it to be a fairly substantial line. Tiny ballpoint pens don't work very well. For one thing, what you see as a solid line may not be a solid line when it's scanned in, such as a ballpoint pen. Ballpoint pens come in as a hot mess because you got parts of line, parts of nothing. It won't read half of it. It's a pain. And it reads it as different colors. What you think is a black line, a black ballpoint pen is going to be all different colors, shades of whatever, so it makes a mess. You want to use original vector artwork and graphic software like Paint Shop Pro is actually ideal. Coloring books and these like graphic books like I got from Dover is a great resource for line art, and a lot of them are royalty free. And then store your scan frame carefully. Just don't throw stuff on top of it. You don't want it to get scratched and dirty. I usually keep it in a plastic bag so nothing gets on it. Sometimes you can't get it off. Clean it. You just wipe with a clean cloth. You can use a mild detergent. I usually take a little bit of ivory soap and just clean it really well. Okay, don't use magnets from your refrigerator on here. They're or from toys. These magnets could be too strong and cause problems with your machine. Just use the magnets that are designed for the scanning board. Well, let's go ahead and scan. We're going to put something in here. So anyway, when you're scanning, you want to put your presser foot and the needle in the highest position. When it's down, I want it up, and I want that needle all the way up, but oh, I'm so not going to do that. So needle down, needle up. Okay, and presser foot up. Okay, then insert this in here. And I'm going to straighten it. You don't need a whole lot of magnets. In other words, don't use refrigerator magnets. It's a bad idea, okay? Also, it's best to remove your thread because it has a tendency to regard your thread. You don't want the thread, and the thread will drag around and just mess up the image. And then once it starts to scan, don't touch it again. Just leave it alone. Resist the urge to move it around. It's going to blur it up. You're just going to waste more time because you're going to have to do it again. Okay, you can saved. You can also get scanned images that are directly in JPEG form. You can put them into on a USB stick or networked in. You can also scan your fabric. If you have a piece of fabric that you like what it looks like, you're going to be using it in the border or on a dress or something. Say you're making a dress and a white jacket, nice summer print dress and a white jacket that you're going to put, you want to put an embroidery rather than an applique of a particular flower or a design element that's on the fabric. Well, you can scan in your fabric and get your design from there and digitize it and make your own design that you can put on white fabric. You don't want extremely bright light in your room. The bright light is going to cause a problem with your scanner. A lot of times it'll wipe or you'll see lines going across your screen. It could be that you got too much light in the room. So dim your light a little bit if you get that. And then also it's a good idea to put your grid on, and I'll show you how to do that. And then don't worry about the color. You can change the color in either IQ Designer or in the embroidery editing feature. So I don't worry about color. So I'm going to straighten that. I'm going to go to IQ Designer. On the Solaris, you're going to pick that leaf image that's up here. I'm going to put Create Line Image. Okay? And here, I can directly scan it. I can also bring in a design from a USB stick, direct from your machine, wireless if you have the Solaris and the Meridian and a couple of those, the Altair, or from an SD card. Okay? I'm going to scan it. So it says the frame will move. So you said, okay. And then it's going to read it. It takes a little while, so we have to learn to be patient. Okay. Now it's going to show up. There we go. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is crop most of this stuff out of here. If you forget, no big deal, because then you can go ahead and erase it out if you miss. So I'm going to just take this and move it too far. There, and then this one. Usually bring it up as close as I possibly can. Come down some. Okay. I can erase if I don't get it all. This grayscale means you can change that if you can't see it, or if it's broken up and it's parts of the line is missing. And this is telling me, can't do anything about it, that is going to bring everything in with a black satin stitch. Can't change it at this point. Okay, okay. And I see some parts where I need to do erase. Okay. I'm just going to leave it. If you look at that and you go, oh, that looks terrible, I can go ahead and change my grayscale and play with it, bring in my original view if all else is a mess. But I'm just going to leave it and set. Okay? I'm going to get some of this mess out of here. Now, this right here is going to show you the background or take it away. So if I want this to completely disappear, or show the background darker, you can. I don't need it anymore, but I want to make this bigger. Now, other things that are on your screen, on the lower end machines, in other words, everything but a Solaris, you have got this display right here, which I love. This is the one reason I like this machine better than the Solaris, because the Solaris and the Luminaire have a pan thing. It looks like a hand. So every time you want to move to a different part of the screen, you need to pan it. I find that annoying. But I can go bigger because I want to erase some things. And oh, when I look up close, I'm not liking what I see. A lot of things I don't like. So I'm going to start over here and start cleaning up this design. So I'm going to hit the eraser, make it smaller, and erase it. Okay. See, for the other machines, to move to this other section, I got to hit pan and move it. But this, all I have to do is move that red box and erase some more. Any other weird stuff that I don't see? Okay, I got a little bit of work to do inside here, so I'm going to make it even bigger. And erase I want the smallest point. I like to use this square. Now when you're erasing, you start on the outside and you just work it in. And take your time. Okay, I'm happy there. I'm also looking for breaks. So here's another spot that's going to cause something I don't want. Here's something I don't like. I want those lines to be fairly consistent. I tend to get picky. And over here, oops, undo. That's why you want to pull it away. Okay, that'll work. And over here, oop, undo. It's hard to do with. Okay, got lucky there. Okay, and I think I see a break here. There's a break. Oops. See that break right there? Okay, this is where I'm going to want to go into my lines. And I'm just going to take a little line here in the black. And I'm just going to fix that. So now it touches. Okay, and I'm going to scan around, look for more breaks and things that I need to erase. And you can get as picky as you like. Now every time you have a thickness, there's another break. Okay, I'm going to erase this line. And I'm going to draw. There. Erase. I think I'm good. Oops, there's another erase. Those tend to not, when you see those little nubbies sticking out, tends to give you a little rough spot there. Now if you're going to fill, usually I'll take this down to 100 so I can see the whole thing. And then I'm going to flood with anything. Okay, red's fine. Okay, and I'm going to flood this outside. Okay, I have a break there, so I'm going to undo. So I know to go look. Up here, there's a break, so there it is. Okay, and draw. A line. Okay. Another place I want to erase right here. Now I'm going to go back to 100. We're just going to take it to the, we're not doing anything with this design yet. Okay, I'm looking for breaks and to clean things up. Okay, so going to flood. That's good. Undo. Flood. Okay, everything's covered. Undo, and I'm going to do little parts and check. Yep, we're good. 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 Okay. I think I'm ready. All the parts are closed, so if I want to put in fill stitches, I'm good to go. I have this artwork 90% of where I want it to go, and now I'm going to save this into memory, and next week we will pick up making this into an embroidery design. Okay, so I'm going to save it into the internal memory of my machine here. Okay, and then I'm good to go. I'm just going to leave it for now, and I would like everybody to try this if you have these machines. Next week we will turn this into an embroidery design of different colors. So we're gonna take the same design and like get a little more complex and a little more complex as we go along, and we're ultimately going to turn this into a mug rug. or just a little placemat or something, a little mug rug with a small border on it, so that we will have a finished project at the end of a couple of weeks. So including some quilting. So if you have any questions, let me know. At Walt's Quilt, I'll talk to you later. You guys have a great week and stay healthy. Bye.